A lot of things like drove me to become great at jiu-jitsu and MMA, like to keep, pushing yourself. So I guess MMA would be, let's face it, like to be in the UFC.
First, fighting out of the red corner, let's hear it for Shane Superman Manley.
Got to main event, Cage Titans, CFFC, Ring of Combat, got to fight for Bellator, got to fight a lot of guys that were in the UFC. It's kind of funny now, you see these guys that fight some bum amateur, they win and they said they're the next big thing, or they think they're gonna go to the UFC, and it's just, even professionals, they get one professional win and they believe their own hype, and they don't understand there's like levels to this, So I started jiu-jitsu back in 2011. That's also when, I started training MMA. I'll tell this to people all the time. Wrestling made me mentally tough, then MMA gave me discipline. Growing up wrestling, I was always a little guy. Luckily, I was always good on the ground, so that definitely translated into jiu-jitsu a lot, but the wrestling principle, if you're on top, you're winning, and it's not like that in jiu-jitsu. And it took me a long time to realize that. It's all about perception. After a year of having my white belt, in 2012, I was promoted to blue belt. My first big milestone I could think of off the top of my head, so I never really got into the higher level jiu-jitsu stuff until later on. I think I was 3-1 at the time. I was out in Maine, I fought there #1 guy. I think he was ranked at one point #1 Northeast of that weight class. Had a nice full fight camp, I think 8 weeks. I was training with a lot of professionals and just went out there and made it look easy, It was awesome. You're not gonna sleep right if you don't do what you think you have to do to win the fight. Just the mental grind you think about, what your opponent's doing. For me, it was always, putting that extra rep in and just mentally being ready and be ready to go for, 15 minutes or even 25 minutes of a nonstop grind. In June of 2014 is when I was wearing my purple belt. As a purple belt, I was, probably at one point at my weight class, one of the best guys in the world. In 2015, I was second at the Pan American Games. I had four submissions up until the finals, and then in that same tournament, I choked out the world champion that year. So they consider purple belt the first level of being able to coach. So what made me want to start coaching was, honestly, at the time I needed grappling partners. Every Friday, we would call it Free Hug Friday, because a lot of people, MMA fighters that like striking, they call it grappling hugging. So we call it Free Hug Friday. It's a little 10x10 mat, and we have a few guys, and it was funny. People would laugh and, oh, look at this guy's gym. There's a 10x10 mat. Like us, it was great, man. It's the greatest thing in the world, Had a place to train, had a place to work my stuff, and that's how I got my start. It was never lucrative or anything like that. I did it for love of the game, Just in May this year, finally, ended up getting to something official and being more mainstream. Before, we were always training. We always had a decent amount of people training, but we were kind of under the radar, not advertised or anything like that. It was kind of like a fight club mentality, especially during COVID. We were out training my pole barn outside, and just, that's what I would say. It was fight club mentality, So in December 2017, I was awarded my brown belt, kind of got jammed up there for a little bit, coming up on 2 years now, being shot in the stomach. So it happened May 15th, 2022. I was just, working at a bar, and two people got in a fight. Cash register falls over and end up getting shot in the stomach.
Since MMA fighter Shane Manley became a victim of gun violence, taking a shot to the abdomen while working as a bouncer at Orange Crate Brewing on the Hill.
Pushing forward, Manley opened Bulletproof Jiu-Jitsu, hoping to give back to a community that's given him so much.
I was laid out in the hospital for a week, and I returned home after a week and had no core strength whatsoever. Couldn't do like a push-up or a dip or chin-up. I think it was like maybe 6 weeks after, 4 or 6 weeks after they said I could start working out. So I pretty much started from like zero. I was, lowest of low. I would like to say, I faced adversity head on, and I walked away from it with my pride intact and had still, raised high. I didn't sit there and cry and complain about it, and just worked my way through it, So 4 months after I was shot in the stomach, coming back after almost dying, literally almost bleeding out and dying, I went out and won a Pan American medal. And then 6 months after, I won a world championship no-gi. And then I think a few months after that, I won a championship Pan Americans in the gi. It's easy to quit and it's easy to make excuses, but it's a lot harder to go out there and put the extra reps in and like really lead by example and not be one of those guys like I did this and I did that. And there's a lot of those guys, or I coach them, or I coach them, and I have these certificates, but I'm out here in the trenches, every day, and I'm the kind of guy that leads by example, and I say this all the time. I would never ask anyone to do that I haven't done myself. So I say, 50% of what I did is what I asked of them, because comparing themselves to me is asking them a lot, So I always try to set the bar high. So yes, January 2024, I finally got my black belt. I think it was after 6 years. I took the long way around, but at least I did it my way. I didn't have to drink anyone's Kool-Aid or, go against my beliefs. I got it from an awesome professor, and 2 days later, competed at black belt, won both divisions. It was pretty cool.